nice if you could do that same level of customization at WeBull. As of right now, you can't, but they do offer, just by default, more options for different ways to view level 2. So if you view it this way, I think that's pretty good. If you choose to do just the appearance in blue, I think that's okay as well, because at least the shades are more distinguished. So you can see the top tier, the best price, very clearly in the dark blue, and then the next level down is a much lighter color, so it's easier to distinguish. Now, one of the things that's also noteworthy while we're on the topic of level 2 is that on order book settings, if you are on, if you're on level 2 order book right here, most people would be subscribed to the level 2 order book. This is level 2 NASDAQ total view. So this is the view that you would have. And what I learned is that when you subscribe to NASDAQ total view, as we have it on right here, and there are a couple different ways you can have it displayed, you will not see halt levels. If you subscribe to NBBO right here, you will get halt levels. So see how this gray says limit up at 656? That's the halt threshold, where if this stock goes straight up to 650, now the halt level's moved, it'll be halted for 5 minutes. If it goes down to 433, it'll be halted for 5 minutes. This is important information, especially when you're looking at a stock like Hoth, where the halt levels are maybe a little bit closer, 320. Or you're looking at one like SPRC. The halt level here is up only at 116. So not only do you see the halt limit prices of what the price is where the stock will halt, if the stock was halted, you'll also see the resumption price. So you'll see the quotes in real time showing you approximately where the price is going to resume. So WeBull actually provides you with quite a bit more data than you would get using just Thinkorswim. Now, again, not that Thinkorswim is bad, and this isn't really meant to compare Thinkorswim to WeBull, but just for the sake of it, because many people do like Thinkorswim quite a bit. Now, I will tell you that I did have one very disappointing encounter with WeBull. The encounter was that I took a position of 6,000 shares, and I bought with 3 orders of 2,000 shares. And then when I was ready to sell, I pressed my hotkey to sell my full position. And I got this message that your order is rejected because it exceeds the maximum quantity threshold for a single order. You might need to reduce the size. Now, I'll also say that when you get this little alert here, this little notification, it's sort of buried in this window and it does not stand out at all. So first of all, I didn't even know what was happening. I actually went down to force quit, and that's when I realized that it was showing that I had two windows open, and I realized one of them was this notification. So I instead tried to sell half my orders, sell 3,000 shares, and I got the notification again. And then I tried to sell just 1,000 shares, and finally I was able to get out. But I had to slowly unwind this position, and it ended up resulting in a fairly big loss because I wasn't able to get out quickly when I wanted to, right? I mean, you can see the way I trade. I'm looking at a stock like this. This is a dip right here, so I'm going to buy this dip at 26. So I'm in at 26, and now it's popping up, and I want to get out right there. So I'm back out 26 and 28. Now that's a quick trade. That's $20 with 1,000 shares. All right. When I want to get out, I want to get out. I'm not messing around. I can't sit here and twiddle my thumbs and try to figure out how to slowly piece out of a trade. So what that taught me was that that WeBull would actually not be a good platform for me for where I'm at today. Now, it's possible that right now I could trade this stock with 10,000 shares and it would let me, or 6,000 shares, I wouldn't get that notification. My guess is that it varies from stock to stock, and they have some algorithm that sort of factors in how many shares you're trying to trade with the amount of volume the stock has. But the stock that I was trading had millions of shares of volume. It was not a thinly traded stock. It was up after hours on breaking news, and it just wouldn't let me sell without slowly piecing out. So that for me personally was a deal breaker. And so we'll go back over here to the pros and cons list. So the pros here, we've got hotkeys. Definitely they've got great hotkeys. Another pro is that they've got level 2 with sort of nice color scheme. Another pro is the NBBO halt levels. That's definitely a pro. So halt prices. We'll just do like that. Another pro is relatively fast. So it's relatively fast. Another pro is good charts. They're decent. You know, they're not amazing, but they're not bad. Cons, okay, so we had that one earlier about sharing layouts. That's not really a big deal. It's just a little one. But order, size, threshold. This is a really big issue. For someone like me who trades with large size, it's actually a impossible issue to overcome. It would make it so you could trade with WeBull up to a certain point. And then when you got to that certain point, you would just have to switch to a different broker. And I suppose at that point, that might be where you would consider a broker like Lightspeed. You would say, all right, I'm going to switch to Lightspeed. This is going to be a little faster. I'm going to pay commissions, but I can trade, if I want to trade 50,000 shares, I could trade 50,000 shares. You could trade as really many shares as you want. So this is more probably professional level software. It is professional level software. And it's probably for where you might get at a certain point. You graduate to that level. But WeBull as a starting point, you know, I think it could be a fine starting point. It's fast enough. The hotkeys are great. You can move in, you can move out quickly, as long as you don't exceed certain size thresholds. Now, it's a little challenging because you don't know exactly what those size thresholds are. So let's see. So right now, I don't have all that much money in this account. I don't know that it'll let me do this order. So let's just try it. I'll put the order at $4 a share. So I'm going to try to do 10,000 shares at $4. Let's see what happens. It's going to say insufficient buying power, right? Because I would have to use leverage to do that. Let's switch to Hoth. Hoth is a little cheaper, $258. So I should be able to buy 10,000 shares of this. And I'll just put my order down just a little bit lower. So we'll just go down to whatever, 35. So it's accepting 10,000 shares as one order. It's not giving me the error that it's, you know, too big a size. So for that stock, I don't know if it's because of the volume or how much it's up or down on the day or what it is. So in this case, could I buy 10,000 and sell 10,000 shares? It seems that I could. But there's obviously limits, and I've hit them before, and that cost me. It was a pretty sizable loss. I was pretty disappointed when that happened. So at that point, I realized this is going to be an issue. Now, when it comes to the platform layout, I've got my chart here in the top corner. And of course, you could choose different time frames if you wanted. You could switch, you could do your drawing tools and everything else. You could set up your indicators. You could set up your line styles, this and that. So one of the things that I kind of like is just keeping my charts really simple. So I didn't make it super complicated. I just, you know, have sort of basic indicators, the 9, the 20, the 200, and the volume weighted average price. Now, typically I would also add MACD onto this. So I can add the MACD right here. All right, so we've got actually a MACD crossover on this here. But anyway, so I keep my charts relatively simple. I keep those up at the top. And then down here, I've got my order book, and I have it on NBBO. And I usually try to have it scroll down just far enough so that I can see the limit up, limit down level. So I've got to have it kind of like right to there. That's fine. And then I leave this trade window open so I could kind of manually enter an order and kind of put the price of what I'm willing to pay. And I just keep my hand over the buy button, and I could click the buy button a couple times. So I'll show you, I'll just do 100 shares, just as for example. So I'm just gonna click the buy button. And now, just like, well, wait, oh, my order's too low, sorry. So I'm just gonna click the buy button, move this up a little bit. So I'm in there at 73. So I just kind of hold for a second and I'm watching it. And then when I'm ready to get out, I can use my hotkey to sell. So I could say, now 68, 70, 68, 70. All right, so it's starting to come up. I press my control button. I could put the order to sell on the ask there at 75. And I got out there and I got filled at 75, 100 shares. So in and out, 2 cents a share. So, you can kind of, you could use the buy order window down here to buy. You could also use it for selling if you wanted to, but I tend to use it for buying. The quotes window here, I actually don't use that. I could just close that widget entirely. Let's see, remove quotes. So I have trade right here, and this is the classic trade window. They do have other widgets. If we go into add widget and we go to all widgets, you can see the different widgets they offer. We've got the charts, we've got the quotes, the order book. This is all here. Volume analysis, I don't use that. Time and sales, I do use that. That's over here. This is showing me all the orders that are going through the market. So that's good. And then under trade, you've got your order entry window, your classic trade, which is the button that I've got. You've got your turbo trade where you can set up some buttons. So you see how you've got the buy 100, sell 100. You could set up quick buttons to do things. Again, it's like if you like to do it that way, you could set up the buttons. I don't really find that super helpful for me because the thing is, I like to stipulate how much I want to pay. These buttons are the same as hotkeys. I'll just use hotkeys if I'm going to do that. What I like to do is I set up the button here so I can stipulate this is the most I'm willing to pay is 80. That way, if I'm buying a breakout, I know I don't get filled higher. Whereas if I click the button to like buy market, I could end up getting filled at a really high price, and that would not be desirable. So I'd rather cap my limit here by using the limit order right there. And then some of this, like this area, I'm not even using, but it just sits there. So then other widgets, over here on this side, I've got my orders today that have been filled and my orders today that are working. I always like to keep these separate. Now, these are taking up a ton of space. It doesn't need to take up this much space. You could make the window smaller, you could shrink it down, and that would be totally fine. So, I kind of adjust this a little bit, and you could have another chart over here, or you could even set this up to have like multiple level 2 windows. So you have level 2 of stock 1, level 2 of stock 2. So you kind of have a couple stocks you're watching. But this is pretty much kind of what I like. It's sort of just like this. This just needs enough rows to show the stocks I'm looking at. And then sometimes just kind of like that. And then I'll see all the orders that have been filled. Now, the reason I want to have this separate area for working orders is, let's just say I put an order on this one to buy down here, and, I got distracted or whatever, and I forgot that my order was out there. Now, that's a problem, right? I don't want to close my computer and forget I had a live order. So that's why I have this separate window where I can always see it. Now, with Lightspeed, I can modify the coloring in this window so I can make it super bright so I can see very clearly that I've got this open order. But anyways, you work with what you've got. Up here on your positions window, you do have to right click and show today's closed positions. Otherwise, by default, it hides them. But that's not helpful because I want to know as a day trader how much I'm up or down on the day. So I've got to be able to see it. So I just leave it on like that. And that more or less is the way I've got the platform set up. For me, usually I don't do charting inside the platform. I do all my charting inside Daytrade Dash here. These are the scanners and the charts that we offer at Warrior Trading. And then my Lightspeed platform, all it is actually is just the level 2 windows. That's all I have there are the level 2 windows. And you could set up WeBull pretty much the same way. So you could say, all right, I don't need the chart at all. So I'm going to remove the chart, but I'm going to add, sort of have to go through this, but you'd add another order book, and you'd sort of put this, maybe you got to kind of, well, I guess we could leave it there. And then we'll do a add widget, time and sales. So, but take it out and then put it right next to that. So you kind of slowly, like, you see what I mean, where it takes a second to kind of work your way through setting up your layout, which is why it's such a shame that you can't share your layout with someone once you've set it up, because you took all this time to get it kind of just the way you like it, and now you can't share it. But nonetheless, it just takes a few minutes and it's fine. So your order entry window, but I think this is the class. This is not the one I want. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to go back to, well, first I'll display this to NBBO, which is what we want. Then I'm going to go here to all widgets. I'm going to go to classic trade, add that one. We're going to put it right down here like that. And, now this is starting to look a little bit better, right? So now you've got your 2 level 2 windows, your 2 order entry windows. I mean, personally, this is taking up a lot of space. This order entry window here on Lightspeed, it takes up this much space. Look at how much space they're using. You've got a buy and a sell button, limit price. What else do you need? You don't need all this space. Why is it taking up so much space? It's a pain. Now you need a bigger monitor, right? So I don't think that that's super convenient, but I mean, like I said, you kind of get used to what you get used to, and if you can tolerate it and you get used to it, then I think that this can be a platform that works for you. So I would say, in summary, long story short, WeBull has a competitive offering. They're not a bad platform. One of the things that's also nice about WeBull is they do have a number of international offices. So if you're in Australia, you're in Japan, you're in Canada, you're in Mexico, you can open WeBull. It's not the same as the US WeBull. Some of them charge commissions, so they're not all the same. They have different pricing structures and stuff like that. But you can open WeBull accounts from a lot of different countries. Thinkorswim with Charles Schwab is pretty much just the United States at this point. I think they have a Canadian branch, but it's not as widespread. So WeBull is kind of making a bigger attempt at actually attracting a wider international audience and being a bigger platform for people that might also want to trade crypto or different exchanges and things like that. So they do have a competitive offering. Unfortunately, their trading simulator is not great. You'll have to use real money, but if you don't mind that, I think it can work. So, and the one thing that I'll also say about WeBull is that they allow trading starting at 4 a.m. Since it's an international company, they've got support around the clock. So they're able to allow earlier trading. You still do run the issues though, and I certainly would run the issues with order thresholds, especially on light volume pre-market trading. So I think for beginner traders, a platform for getting started, it's not bad, especially if you're on a budget. You won't have to pay an extra $175 a month to use, a third-party integration with Thinkorswim. And by the way, Thinkorswim has similar thresholds where they make it almost impossible for you to sell a large position. They're not as bad as WeBull, but they do have some similar issues. So if you were going to force me today to choose between WeBull or Thinkorswim, I would probably, well, if you're going to force me to choose and you said I have to use either just the Thinkorswim platform or the WeBull platform, I can't spend the extra $175 a month on a third-party integration, I would use WeBull, no doubt about it, hands down. Thinkorswim with that third-party integration, Thinkorswim is a little bit more forgiving on those order thresholds, and people do size up heavier with Thinkorswim. So I think that Thinkorswim could be a little bit better than WeBull. If you're trying to still use a commission-free broker without, without that threshold issue. So actually, maybe I would kind of say that there's a curve where for brand new beginners on a budget, you've got WeBull here, which is great because you get the hotkeys and you don't have to pay $175 a month for it. And then you switch over to Charles Schwab here, where now you're going to pay $175 a month for the software that gives you really nice hotkeys and the halt resumption prices and everything else. So this is Thinkorswim. But they have higher thresholds, so they'll let you trade a little bit more aggressively. And then you get up to this level here, which is, light speed trading, or one of the other professional brokers that cater to 7- and 8-figure traders like myself. And here, you could trade 50,000, 100,000, 500,000 shares. I mean, you want to take a position in the company, like a 50% stake or a 20% stake. Like, you could do that with these brokers. They'll let you if you want to become like an active or passive investor. Thinkorswim, WeBull, these guys will all block you. So not that you necessarily want to do that, but you're allowed to go really big over here. But you're going to start paying commissions. Now, if you're trading big size, your commission is going to be like $2 per trade. And then plus you have your direct routing fees to route your orders to NASDAQ. So today you could see I'm up $11,952.26 thanks to the 27 that I made during this platform demo on DATS. And of that, will I have a couple $100 in fees and commissions? Yeah, from all of those trades I took, I will. And I have no problem with that, because I wouldn't have been able to take those trades and get the executions as fast as I got them if I used WeBull or Thinkorswim. I know that for a fact because I've tried to push both of those platforms to that limit, and they throttle you back. Your orders don't get filled. They sit and they lag. And that can happen. That can happen with WeBull, where I don't have a great example of it here. There's not really a stock right now that's positioned quite right where I could buy enough shares because my buying power is somewhat limited. But if you tried to take a big position, 7,000, 8,000 shares, you might see that your order does sort of sit there and lag. So there's not a great stock right now that's a good example that's at the right price where I could kind of do that and show you. And honestly, even if there was, it's not a guarantee. It's sort of intermittent. Sometimes you'll just find you place that big order and it just sort of sits there. And